Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. I'm your host, Phil Friedrich, and today I'm honored to have Michael Floyd with me. Michael is a retired NFL player, a Notre Dame record holder, and currently a real estate agent and running a great business there. And one thing that I'm excited to talk about in his journey is when you decide that it's time for a change, you have the power to make the change. So, Michael, thanks so much for being on.
If I appreciate the opportunity again with you. Thank you.
You bet. So to start your journey growing up as a young man in Minnesota and falling in love with football, I would have to imagine that there were a couple players at that time that made it an intriguing thing to be playing football and want to be a wide receiver. So talk about getting started with football and falling in love with the game.
So it started in third grade. My dad was actually my coach for an organization called the West Side Boosters here on the west side of St. Paul. And since third grade, my dad always said to me, like, Michael, you can go to the NFL. And
Mm,
as a young kid, you don't really think twice about, that it goes in one ear out the other because you're what, 8 years old, 9 years old at the time. So I'm just out there having fun. But, you know, as I got older, and kind of took the extracurricular of football more seriously, I got the thought in my head like, yeah, I probably could do this for a living. But I was smaller back in the day. From sophomore to junior year, I grew probably 6 or 7 inches. So I had to change my position to wide receiver because I was a running back. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to let everyone on the field hit me
yeah.
with these long legs. So I got to make an adjustment and change. So that's when I made the transition to move to wide receiver. Yeah.
I love it. Now, as the story goes, you're getting recruited, but Notre Dame was actually recruiting an offensive lineman on your team, and then they see you. So talk a little about, Notre Dame and the intrigue and how you end up deciding to go there.
Yeah, so a lot of guys from my high school, or non-athletes, they went to Notre Dame, and I
Yeah.
had no idea about this until I got there. But uh, Matt Carafell was one of our offensive linemen at the time at Cretin-Derham Hall, and the wide receiver coach was the recruiter for our Minnesota. So as he's watching the tape, he notices me in the state championship game catching some balls, and he was like, "Wow, like yeah, I need to go meet this kid." And
Yeah.
it wasn't long enough to after that they gave me a scholarship there. So besides Minnesota being, it was like 1A, 1B, as to who gave me the scholarship first.
Yeah. Now, for you, what was it about, Notre Dame, whether it was the style, the tradition, that ultimately led you to say, all right, this is where I'm gonna go.
Oh yeah, so I kind of based it off of just how my high school was. So it was
Mhm.
a lot of people there, 95% of the people, you know, they wanted to be successful and go on to college.
Yeah.
It was a smaller private school, 1,300 kids total. Notre Dame's 8,000 undergrad. Um, and I just wanted to be around an area that was small like that, but also wanted to be around people that wanted to be successful in
Yeah.
whatever thing they put their mind to. And that's where you find a lot at Notre Dame and a great networking too, just like my high school. But like after football, I'm able to talk to a lot of people that went to the University of Notre Dame, whether that's in real estate or just life. And just just help them out. It's a big network where like Notre Dame people always want to help out other Notre Dame people. So they're always open to that. So that's really why I wanted to, and also just because you know football stands for not for long.
Yeah.
So you have to go back on your degree and what degree to most people's eyes are better than Notre Dame degree. That's really where I want to position myself for after football. How can I use my degree to my advantage?
I love it. So, as you get to Notre Dame, once again, a very prestigious program, always highly ranked, doing well. And freshman year comes around, and you get an opportunity due to an injury. So, talk a little about that first big play and that first opportunity, and how that really kind of set the trajectory for you.
Yeah, Phil. So yeah, I did not start my first game. And then a fifth year senior got hurt, and it was actually, my time to come in. So the next play was, I don't know, all go or something like that. And it was like a 65-yard touchdown. And after that, it was over. Like I
Yep.
started from that day forward. But a lot of people don't know my background. Like I didn't get there and I started. I had to put in all the work to put myself in that position to be able to go out there and perform, when someone does get hurt. So I always try to tell people because like they always think like, you know, people are always starting at the top and they start first, and that's just not my case. Like
Yeah.
I had to learn as a 17, 18-year-old to you're coming from a high school where you were the guy. Now you're amongst all other guys around the country.
Mhm.
So do whatever you can to put yourself in the position to play. And that's exactly what I did. And I never looked back.
I love that. So, talk a little bit about that, the mindset there, kind of twofold. One, I think I always love the phrase, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right?
Yeah,
Because how many times do people get the opportunity, but they weren't prepared for it, or they hadn't been doing what was required for excellence when the opportunity came. But then number two, also, not getting down on yourself because, oh, I'm not starting, right?
yeah,
Obviously, everyone wants to be the CEO, everyone wants to be the starter, but at the same token, the, you know, second tier, or I guess the person right behind, right? They can get a lot of
yeah.
opportunities as well, but you have to be ready for it. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think my mindset was always, I'm a positive guy. No matter what the circumstances are, I think that's what makes me and my wife so good and balanced out is because she's super, she likes to control everything where like you can't control everything. Like
Yeah.
you have to put the time in. And when it comes to athletes, like they see, people on social media, acting a certain way and living this lavish lifestyle, but like they earn that.
Yeah.
Like they put the time in, and people think it's just, oh, I can do this one day and do this the other day. But you know, when I was in trying to get scholarships, I never had a spring break.
Mm.
I always went to go and train, and I always went to go and train in college too. I never went on a spring break. But my mindset was like I have one goal. And I don't think people who want to make it to this next level, that's what I was telling myself, go on spring break.
Right.
They're actually going out there and, perfecting their craft. And that was instilled in me from, day one. Like if you want to be different, you got to move different, you got to act different. And I think anyone who gets to the highest level, they in whatever profession, whether it's football, basketball, they move different than other people.
Yep.
And that's just my mindset every single day, and that goes into work, and that transitions into work right now.
I love it. Now, speaking of being different, your numbers were very different than anyone else's in the history of Notre Dame football as a wide receiver. So, when we talk about, yards, touchdowns, setting records, I mean, with such a historic program and being able to accomplish that, and it's not as if you're the only guy on the team, right? I mean, you're playing with guys like Golden Tate. I mean, players that people are well, informed on, and yet you were able to set records. So talk a little bit about, that work ethic and then seeing the results on the backside.
Oh yeah, I think Golden Tate and Jimmy Clausen was my Golden was the other wide receiver opposite of me, and Jimmy at the time, my first 2 years, he was my quarterback. But
Yeah.
having them older guys and having guys around you that kind of had the same mindset of, wanting to get to the league,
Hmm.
um, it kind of changes attitude around you to want to be great. I know the year when Golden won the Blenderkoff, if I did not get hurt, Golden might have think otherwise. But I was probably 95% sure I would win the Blenny Cup that year. But I'm happy for him that he. Okay, yeah. So if I would not have gotten injured, Golden won the Blenny Cup at that time. But I was probably 95% sure I would have won it. But I was happy that someone from Notre Dame won it, and that's all that matters. So, but it really comes with when you surround yourself around people who kind of have the same mindset and work ethic as you and the same goals of
Yeah,
wanting to be, at a certain level. It just makes you want to up your game even more. And they always say, you know, your your network is your net worth is the five people around you,
yeah,
your five closest friends, and that's I think it's like 100% true. Like if you surround yourself around the right people who have the right same mindset as you, the same goals that you want, the same positive attitude, it just makes you into a positive person. It just makes you want to work harder.
I love it. Now, Michael, for you, and not uncommon for a lot of people, as you're in college, it can be a time to get into some partying and social activity. So, talk a little bit about that season of life for you and, how that ends up kind of starting and being a part of your journey.
Oh yeah, so I wasn't a big partier until I got to college. And that's when like any other college student, well, most of them, to
Yeah,
my opinion,
yeah,
like to go out and have fun.
yeah,
But my junior year, I think I had a little bit too much fun, and was doing dumb things, and I got a DUI, and I got kicked off the team for
yeah.
spring practice. But luckily, I got to continue my senior year of playing at Notre Dame and finishing out my career. But I mean, without certain things happening, being put in place, like, I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for certain decisions from myself,
Yep.
but also the school to keep me in school.
Mhm.
And even with that issue, I still decided to be a regular college student and go out and party and drink. So, you know, as we go on to with this podcast, you'll probably hear more as to my life and my story and how, and where I am today.
Absolutely. Now, as you progress on through college, once again, you're playing well, and the NFL, from that third grade conversation with your dad becomes a very much a reality, right? And you get drafted in the 2012 draft to the Cardinals, and what a great opportunity to go get drafted and play with Larry Fitzgerald. But talk a little bit about that transition as well, because it's kind of like that high school to college transition of, hey, I'm the guy. Now I'm a part of a really, elite group. And then all of a sudden now you're in
Mhm.
the NFL. It's like, all right, well, Notre Dame was great, but I mean, each of these guys were the greatest on their team. So talk about that transition for you, not only from a football standpoint, but even as a, young man and making that move.
Um, I think for me it was kind of a smooth transition, but then again, it kind of went back to I wasn't starting.
Mm,
Those guys who kind of already established themselves that were starting. And the coach then, Coach Wisenhunt, I believe, he didn't play rookies.
mm.
Um, and so I'm like sitting back, I'm like, you just paid me all this money to sit on the bench? Like, okay, I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
Uh, but when I first got there, you see all these guys that you've been watching all these years on TV. And I remember vividly, Antonio Cromartie was the best cornerback, on earth at the time when I got
Yeah.
drafted. So, lining up across from him, I'm like, holy crap. Like, I just seen this dude, watching this dude 2 years ago being the man. And he threw me, we call it throwing someone out the club when you just get, tossed around. And that's what he did to me on my first play when I played him. Uh, but like any level, like you got to have confidence in yourself. And that's throughout that first year, I gained so much confidence. And at the end of that year, I'm just like, man, this is just like college and high school. Like
Yeah.
if you put the time in and work, like, it's no different from that. And when I got that confidence, my second year, I started, never looked back after that, and just had the utmost confidence in myself that, yeah, I'm meant to be in this position. This is where I'm supposed to be.
I love it. Now, within every locker room, there's a different vibe. There's locker rooms where the more veteran players are like, "Hey, I don't want to help the young buck. He's coming for my job, right? If I help him, I might be out pretty quickly." And there's other seemingly locker rooms where they're a little bit more inclined to embrace, "Hey, we're trying to win something as a team, and if that means I need to help this young guy, progress because I think it's better, then I'm willing to do that." What was your experience like with, veteran wide receivers and veteran players, being willing to help you, in that maturation process?
Yeah, I think being going to the Cardinals, being drafted by the Cardinals, you had Larry Fitz there who, at 22 for me, he was 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
So he already knew the lay of the land,
Yep.
how to eat, how to keep your weight down, how to train. So that's who I lived with basically 90, basically almost the first year. I had to get used to eating certain things that I wasn't used to because obviously I would go to Chipotle
Yeah.
if anything. But I'm like, there's a reason why this guy's playing 10 years. Like, I need to follow something,
Yep.
something he's doing well. So I was blessed with living with him for my first year and kind of getting, you know, down pat exactly what it's doing to get longevity in
Yeah.
this profession. And then it just kind of grew from there where, you kind of, you know, come off the leash and kind of go by yourself. But you know, it's not like college and you don't have your parents around. So basically, when work's done, you get to do whatever you want to do. So, and that's either in a positive way or a negative way. You can get caught up in both of them. But most of my time was spent golfing. That's when I learned how to golf.
Yeah. I love it. Now, for you, as you are, progressing, and once again, that year number two, you had a great year, great season. Um, Year number three was a great season as well. But the off-field item that we talked about previously with drinking and having fun ends up coming back into the story with your time in Arizona. So I guess talk a little bit about that. I think um, sometimes people from the outside look at things, they go, man, how do these guys do it with millions? And you go, you know how much money or how much fun you can have with millions of dollars?
Oh
Yeah, you can
yeah.
have a lot of fun. So, hey, if college was fun, now imagine doing that with like actual money. So, talk a little bit about that for you. Just how that kind of continued to be a part of your story in those early years in with the Cardinals.
Yeah, so 2016 wasn't the best year for the Cardinals for us. And I ended up getting another DUI.
Yeah,
And I spent, you know, quite a quite a bit of time in jail was my consequence. But then at that time, I really had to look myself in the mirror and be like, what do you really want? Because you just lost your job with the Arizona and you got blessed by being picked up by another team and then going winning the Super Bowl with them. But like that couldn't have been the case. Like
yeah,
if it wasn't for, certain things happening and the New England Patriots organization believing in me that, this is just, a mistake and you're going to learn from it and you're going to come here and kind of get molded into the Patriot way of what they call it. So I'm really grateful that they were able to pick me up and me going out there was great for me. And I honestly wish that was kind of a place that I probably should have been from the get-go.
yeah.
Um, someone who it's not saying like they're babying you, but like it's just a certain way you roll, a certain style, a certain culture that they had there that like, hey, if you don't abide by these rules, you're gonna be gone.
Yeah.
And I think everyone takes that in when they get there. And that's why I say that place is very different than anywhere else during that era of Tom and Bill, just because, you got a guy who is super passionate about the game of football. And at 40 years old, he still has the passion as a 20-year-old. And then Bill, he just sets the standards there. Leave your ego at the door, and this is your job, and we collectively coming together for one goal. So if you have, you know, different accolades than that, then this is probably not the place for you. And that's what I like because it's just team.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I went there and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then I always tell people that, after I won the Super Bowl, my court stuff with Arizona was just finishing up, and I got uh, 30 days in jail, which was tough. So winning the Super Bowl, ha, hoorah, hoorah! To 2 days later, I'm in jail for 30 days. So I've seen the highest highs of life, and I've seen the lowest of
Yeah.
life, and I think everyone needs that because, like, not my situation, but uh, just seeing like you see this guy that's making millions of dollars. He can make mistakes too, but
Mhm.
it's how you go about that afterwards is who you really become as a person.
I love that. Now, just talking about that, talk about as you go from high to, low, right? Staying mentally strong through that, right? Because I think for so many people, if that low happens, that can be the spot where they stay, right? They never bounce back up. They, have shame, they have guilt, resentment, right? I mean, whatever those things are, that can weigh a person down. But talk a bit about that for you, coming out of those 30 days and then be like, all right, now it's time to get back on track. Like, I still know I can play in the league and there's still going to be an opportunity to pursue that.
Yeah, it's about getting yourself in your head and telling yourself that you're made for this.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether it's football or just life, that like if you put your mind to it, a lot of things can go your way. And
Yeah.
I know it wasn't going my way at the time, but I had a positive mindset. Even though what I went through, I'm like, hey, you got to stop what you're doing, and you got to really hone in. And bring back around, recalibrate your mind, but bring back around of what made you this guy of who you are, what got you here.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a lot of self-reflection, like looking at
Mm.
yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, what do you really want out of this? You have everything in your hand. Are you want to drop it all? Or are you ready to pick everything back up
Mm.
and start from scratch? And that's what I kind of chose. But after you have certain situations happen in the league, um, they kind of forget about you. So at that time, I was on 1 year deals. And when you start getting on 1 year deals, it's your time in the league is usually ending. And which suck. I wish I could have still been playing. The main thing I wish is I wish my kids would have saw me play,
Yeah.
all of them. Only my oldest did, but um, it's life. You pivot, you go a different direction. Life leads you this way, and you just try to make the most of it. But I can't. I never really sat down, laid on my bed and be like, was just super depressed. I had still the mindset of like, hey, yes, you had this rock in front of you, but how are you going to get out of it? What are you going to do differently, to to make this negative turn into a positive?
Absolutely. So, following that, a unique opportunity to go to the home team of the Minnesota Vikings becomes the next step in your journey. And I don't know if you knew this going into it, but you've talked about how supportive staff was with drinking side of things, and you just shared, hey, that was a really important phase of life for me to be there. So even if it wasn't just for the football, maybe the behind the scenes was the reason to be there, right? So talk about returning there, being the hometown kid with the hometown team.
Oh, yeah, it was great to be there because I had two of my college teammates there, Kyle Rudolph and Harrison Smith,
Yeah.
there. I lived with Kyle for most of that year that I was there. But it was good to be home. Uh, I've always wanted to go away from Minnesota just because it was just like, I don't know, people from Minnesota don't leave too much. So I wanted to go and see, a different city. So going to Notre Dame was, you know, my main decision on what I wanted to do. But um coming back was great. I got to see a lot more of my family,
Yeah.
have finally some home cooked meals. Um, and I could just see my old town friends that I had here. But that year was great. We got to NFC Championship. They call it the Minneapolis Miracle that year. But it was good to be back. Good to be home around my family because the first 7 years I seen them once or twice a year. So it was good to see family again.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned it with the Patriots, just kind of that team culture. You knew walking into it, hey, ego's at the door, like we're about the team. And just having been able to play with multiple different teams and having friends that have played with multiple different organizations, what do you think it is about the Patriots and instilling that people it repels probably certain personalities, right? There's probably certain people that would never even entertain the chance of going there back in the Belichick Brady days. But it almost draws other folks into it. So talk a bit about that for you.
Yeah, the culture, but also it's the veterans on the team.
Yeah.
They take a pivotal role as to how the culture is on that team. Like if you see a lot of guys, sitting out, not practicing hard, then that kind of trickles down the line.
Yeah.
And the young guys see that. But if you're someone who's like, example, Tom, where like he's 40 years old and still going out there like he's 22, that makes a 22-year-old like a rookie or myself at 26 at the time was like, hey, like if this dude can do it, I can. Um, but it's a winning culture there, and I think it's a lot with the players and how they approach every single day, whether it's Sundays, playing Mondays, Thursdays, but like in between, how hard are you working during practice? What are you doing behind the scenes to get better? And I think the good teams, the good companies, is they're really dialing down in that position of, what are you doing under the scenes? How are you getting better individually, and how you can help this team or this corporation win?
I love that. Now, in 2018, you happened to meet a special lady. Talk a little bit about that for you, and then life post football.
But yeah, I met my wife Sydney. She's actually great friends with one of the her best guy friends, a guy I grew up with.
Yeah,
I never knew that he was friends with her. But it's crazy. I was a free agent just about to get picked up by Washington, and she came into the restaurant and I saw her and I asked my friend, I said, "Who's that?" Um, and he goes, "Don't worry about it. You have no chance because like she doesn't play any games. At the time, I did not know she had a daughter. But like he was like, now she's very serious. She's very mature, and I'm like, great, okay, sounds good. So I went up to her and I asked her for dinner. Asked her to go to dinner with me, and she thought that was like weird that I'm asking, for dinner. This first thing that you say. Um, but then, the conversation went, but then I asked for her number and asked for mine. But I said, can I see your phone? I dialed myself, so I had her phone number. And long story short, I told her, I said, you don't know this now, but we're going to be together. And 9 months later, I married her.
that's
Um,
amazing.
and she had a 4-year-old at the time. And I was like, I don't care. But that was the hardest thing there was making sure that my daughter liked me.
Yeah,
because if she doesn't like me, this whole relationship can't work.
that's right.
Um, so I fell in love with her. Uh, she gave me the okay that I'm allowed to, marry her mom. And then I had two more other kids uh, a year or two later, or throughout a 4 year span.
Yeah.
And yeah, three kids now, and happily married. So, uh, but she, no, I dedicate a lot to her because like she made me see the world a lot differently and different things that come around the world today. It gives me a different mindset of or different side of things to view certain things.
I love it. Now, at a wedding that you were attending, you just decided, you know what? I'm done drinking. So talk about walking into a social venue such as that and then making this life-changing decision and just kind of the journey for sobriety of you.
Well, Phil, I was that guy where like if I went out of town and like the party was dying down, I'm the guy to be like, oh, okay, well, put my card down. We're gonna go and have some more fun, you
Yeah.
know? So that wedding, I kind of did that and went overboard like what I usually did. And my wife was like, "Hey, this is it. So like, either you want to be a part of this family, um, or you can go about your own way of drinking your life away."
Mm.
And I always make fun of them, not fun, but I never wanted my kids to be like, "Why isn't Daddy living with us?" And like, Daddy's not living with us because like he couldn't stop drinking.
Yeah.
So my family is way more important than the bourbon or the vodka.
Yeah.
That having that conversation with my wife, but also going to the doctor and it's like, hey, how long do you want to see your kids grow up? And my doctor said that, and I was like, yeah, for sure. And he goes, well, you got to stop drinking. And hearing that from my wife, then hearing that from the doctor, I'm like, it's a no-brainer. So I know it takes a lot for other people to stop, but that was just my why as
Yeah.
to why I did. And if your why is big enough, bigger than, yourself, and what you want, then it's a challenging but can be an easy fix also.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say mine was the easiest, but it was pretty easy because my why, my kids are way more important than, a vodka soda.
Yeah.
And also and also my wife is very important to me. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And I think I just see things a lot differently now. I can wake up and remember everything. I don't have to remember, oh, what did I do wrong? Or is my wife
Yeah.
mad at me? It's none of that anymore. So it's great to see, and I feel great inside too. And I'm happy that I'm at the point where like I can talk about it,
Yeah.
because it kind of hurts people, I think, internally when you have this issue, and you're not talking about it or
Mm.
expressing it, or like let it be known. But I'm at the point where like I'm not ashamed of what I did in life, and if these certain things didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have the family that I have now.
Yeah.
So I always, like I said in the beginning, I always look at things in a positive way on how I can you know bring more positivity out of 99% of things.
I love it. Now, I think for so many people, there's those pivots in life where you almost have to like reinvent yourself and redefine yourself. And as a pro athlete, I was not one, but from the pro athletes that I've been connected with, I've spent time with, I know that's a tough change, right? Like, I mean, from third grade until you retired, right? I mean, a lot of who you were was wrapped up in football, and certainly a lot of association with you is wrapped up in football. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, now who am I? What am I going to do? Right? All those different questions that you really haven't had to spend time thinking about because it's just football, right? That's my focus. So, talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that for you and just kind of that, ending of that era and the transition, and then, how you found real estate.
Yeah, so I always told myself like make enough money so you don't have to work.
Yeah.
And I did that. And but when I retired in 2020, I took 3 years off, and I was like, you know what? I don't know really what I want to do. Like, what am I good at? And I think that's where a lot of people find themselves struggling when they come, from playing to coming to what my wife would say the real world.
Yeah.
Um, because you never really had to do anything else. And until you find out what your other niche is, it's going to be tough. But like, go on and try new things, go on and try whatever and see what you're good at. And I know that I love speaking to people. And real estate, I found with playing morning basketball with investors and realtors, they're like, Mike, you should get into real estate. And so I got interested in it, super interested in it. Um, and yeah, that's what I do now. I enjoy it. I love helping people. I cold call for a living. So the same kind of work ethic I took to get to the NFL and football, I kind of do that now with real estate. So basically, I practice every single day at 6:30 in the morning with other people who cold call homeowners, and I practice on what to say and how to say it, and just how to converse with people on the phone, and then I practice on what to say exactly, when you get to the house, what three bullet points you exactly got to hit, and overall, you just got to be likable.
Hmm.
And that's why I love it the most because I could just be myself. And if you don't like who I am of being myself, then hey, that I guess we're not the right people to be, working together. But I'm confident that when people meet me that it's gonna work out. So
You should be. You're a likable guy. Now, now for
I
you,
try to be.
yeah. Now for you, I love that you made that parallel between work ethic in football and work ethic in the business world, because to your point, I think so frequently people feel like, well, that was football. And it's like, but if you can just make the correlation that it's not that much different than what you're doing in the business world, right? Like, how many balls and routes did you run, right? How many balls did you catch? How many routes did you run? All in anticipation of that one game, that one opportunity. Similarly, right? Hey, I'm practicing my calls. I'm practicing my pitch. So talk a little bit about that for you on just realizing, hey, work ethic here translates to work ethic over here. It's a whole different industry, but it translates really well.
Yeah, so I'm a routine guy. So like with football, it's 5:30 to 7,
Yeah.
give or take, something around there. So I had to my whole life now is wrapped around basically my schedule of football or uniqueness, kind of like that. So basically, I had to hire a trainer to work out because I figured when I was at the facility lifetime, I'm doing 25 push-ups, but I only do 10 and I leave.
Yeah.
And when I have a trainer who's accounting me and being there to have the accountability of myself, I am doing 35 push-ups. So I had to hire a trainer because I always had a trainer all my life. Um, I practice every single day, like I said, 6:30 in the morning. That's like summer workouts. Like you want to learn how to run a good curl route, you
Yeah.
got to practice it every single day.
That's right.
Like, and if you want to know what to say on the phone or how to say it on the phone, you have to practice it every single day. So when that time comes up, when it's your time to run that curl, when it's your time to get on the phone and close that deal, it's the same thing. You already know what to do. You've been there before.
Yep.
You've been through the steps of preparing yourself for this moment. Now go and crush it.
Yes. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. So within your real estate, are you mostly focused on residential? Do you do commercial? What do you all focus in on?
Commercial's more business for me. I really like the residential because I love the relationships with people. I love the fact that, like, if I call a homeowner who had an agent before, I'm able to pitch myself and tell them that I can get the job done for them. And 99% of the time I do.
Yeah.
And then you just form that relationship. But that's what I really like the most is to help people want to get into a home that, if they hire me, I'm going to be super aggressive for them and put my best foot forward, regardless if it's a $150,000 house or $2 million house, you're getting the same Michael every single time. And I'm gonna work hard for you because that's all I know what to do.
Yep.
I don't know how to do like um half-assing type things. I
Yep.
like to go all in. Like when I told my wife I was getting into real estate, like I was going all in.
Yeah.
So it was pretty different in my house in the beginning, but now she understands like what I like to do, and I'm passionate about helping people find homes or to get their home sold for the most amount of money.
I love it. I love it. Well, we'll close on this, Michael. For you, one college game or story that really stands out to you from your playing days, and one professional game or story that really stands out that are just highlights from your time playing.
Um, hmm. So I would say USC college. The first time we beat them in 10 years, and it was on my 21st birthday in the Coliseum. But the reason why I make that one number one is because USC, my coach at the time in high school, he made me write down a notebook. He goes, Michael, write down all the schools you want me to send your film to. And every school I put on there, they gave me a scholarship besides USC. They wanted me to go out there for a 1-day camp. And I'm like, look, like if you can't give me a scholarship off my tape, I don't want nothing to do with you. So that's one of the reasons why I chose Notre Dame to play them every year.
Yeah,
So
right.
we beat them. We beat them for the first time in 10 years. Out there, it was my 21st birthday, and I'll never forget that. And then I would say the Super Bowl is kind of like a no-brainer, but like I loved playing Seattle
Mm,
during the Legion of Boom time. Cam Chancellor,
yeah,
Richard Sherman, Eric, what's his name? Dude from Texas. I'm forgetting his name. But two safeties in the corner that were just unreal.
yeah.
Um, that they intimidated people like them the year they won the Super Bowl or a few years, they just won off of intimidation. And to go up there in Seattle where it rains 95% of the time you play them guys, but to go up there twice in my career with Arizona and to finally beat them guys, it was great. It was great.
I love it. I love it, man. Well, hey, I want to say thanks so much for sharing your journey today and excited to continue to watch all the amazing things you're doing, not only in the professional world, but just by sharing your story and all the people it's impacting and helping. And can't wait to probably, do this again in 3 or 4 years. And we'll be hearing also about you playing in some big golf tournament, I'm sure, as well.
Let's see. And I'll lead you off with this, though. I don't know who's gonna listen to this podcast or this recording, but like if you have dreams, like don't let people stop your dreams from coming true. I think there's been plenty of times where, you know, you you have a dream of going to the NFL, and there's a lot of people saying, there's no way you can do that. But like if you train yourself to actually believe that you can or get that certain job that you really wanted, obviously it's going to take time and effort.